Conference guests, please welcome your chair for this session.
Hello everyone, welcome to our session. My name's Emma Anderson and I'm here representing Sunderland Care and Support and Sunderland City Council today. I've brought with me some of my colleagues from across the Council, Sunderland Care and Support and Sunderland and South Tyneside Foundation Trust. So I'm welcoming Dave, Lindsay, Adam and Chris today. We would like to talk a bit today about our journey around technology-enabled care. And when we thought about this, we thought the best way for us to share our story was actually to involve as many of our colleagues and some of our customers to tell the story in their own words. So what we've brought for you today is a film that will play for about 45 minutes and take you through some of the projects that we've been working on. We'll finish the session with some questions and answers at the end. So if anybody has any questions for us, please post them and we will do our best to answer them at the end of the film. So I do hope that you enjoy our presentation. Thank you.
We're in the Independent Living Centre today and this is the central base for Sunderland Care and Support and we also have other colleagues from the Council in Adult Social Care, from the Community Therapy Service and from Recovery at Home, so our Recovery at Home nursing teams from our local health trust, all based in this building. And I guess the focus of us all is about supporting recovery, supporting independence and supporting adults and children to live safe and independent lives. In this piece, we really just wanted to explore some of the current projects that we're working on and the customers that we're working on them with and where we think those projects are going to take us. So we've had an agenda around utilising assistive technology in care planning for adults and children, and we're going to hear from some of our therapists, from some of our installers and from some of our families about the stories that they have that have that really help to show how assistive technology has kind of changed the way they live their lives. We're also really pleased to talk to people about the Rita project, which is a project where we've been using software with some different customers across a number of our services, again to assist with care planning, but to manage a range of things from agitation, through to rehabilitation programs. We're really excited by the Sheila project in the city. I think what Sheila enables us to do is to bring together the data and the alerts that come from a range of assistive technologies into a single dashboard so that we can see all of that information in one place, and that also gives us the ability to maybe start to predict how people are going to behave. So we're going to look across all of those projects and also look at a project where we're engaging student occupational therapists with some of our older people in a remote visiting project that's been really key, particularly during the pandemic when we haven't been able to link up with people in the way that we ordinarily would. And ultimately, I think what we're looking to demonstrate through all of this is how this fits within the smart cities context for the city and all of our aspirations around that, and what we're driving towards for our customers and for our teams. As an occupational therapist, I've been long used to working with equipment to support people who have disabilities, to find ways of becoming independent, to do the things that they would like to do with their daily lives. And so working with equipment, I think what I've seen is equipment becoming steadily more automated over the years. So myself and my service, we started to look at the agenda around assistive technology and actually how that could support our customers, adults and children to be able to achieve things in their life from an independence perspective that they would like to be able to achieve. And that gave us an opportunity to start diversifying in the care plans that we were delivering and start to introduce some of that technology into people's care planning. We've long used solutions like telecare, but I think the thing that as a council we were really interested in was the opportunities to use maybe some of that more high street automation that we were starting to see arrive in people's homes. So we understood that families were starting to use Alexas, they were starting to think about Ring doorbells, things like that in their daily lives, and there was a real opportunity there for us to harness some of that and actually start to think about how we could use that more constructively in care planning. The journey that we've embarked on has been around looking at how we could mainstream assistive technology in people's care plans. So not to see it as something separate and different, but actually start to integrate the use of that assistive technology in the same way as we would integrate the use of any other kind of equipment that we might use with someone to support their independence. So that journey of integration, I think, is around empowering families, empowering our customers and all of our prescribers of equipment across the city, our prescribers of care, to start to think about assistive technology as part of that offer and integrate it into the service that we offer for people so that it becomes normalised in terms of the approach. I think one of the things that we're really interested in is digital inclusion and ensuring that everybody has equal opportunity to access technology and to harness some of that in their daily lives. Connectivity is also really important to us, and making sure that people have the connectivity in their homes. So all of those things really chimed with the Smart City agenda and give it our initiative really good context. It's an ambitious plan, but it's a realistic plan. It's achievable, and I think what we've seen is we've started to progress with what felt like quite a small idea around home automation. We've started to see that grow and pieces of the jigsaw coming together. There are real opportunities for us here to engage with wider parts of the council, when we're thinking about things like inclusion, connectivity, and we're starting to see how we're able to use some of that, harness some of it to achieve that overall ambition of the healthy city with people living longer and being able to live their lives as they want to.
For us, technology benefits our customers in two different ways, and I certainly think that COVID pandemic's accelerated that. So in terms of our day-to-day work, we can use our computers and the software on our computers to work with our customers remotely, so we can use Zoom, Teams, to talk to customers to keep them as safe as possible. In terms of assistive technology, what we've been doing at Sunderland and Sunderland Care and Support is looking at different sensors, different systems like the Alexa, the smart hubs, all those kind of things to enable people to be as independent as possible for as long as possible.
Every install that we do, we see technology's benefits, and it can be technology which is passive. The person doesn't need to interact with it at all. So it might be a monitoring situation where nobody needs to be involved, or it can be something that's interactive. So the care receiver might need to use their voice or their movement or their hands to touch things to make the technology work.
Delilah has lots of additional needs and a lot of complex needs. And one of the difficulties we've had is never being able to get a reasonable medication but routine plan as well, because it's such a balance between what you do and what you give her. So on an evening, she's never been able to self-settle, so we would settle her. There's so many things that we can't understand going on in Delilah's head that can't be fixed. Things like why she doesn't want to be in her bed, why she doesn't want to stay there so long. Certain lights will irritate her, she's sensitive to sound. Why she wants bread crisps all the time. So it was just kind of figuring out that challenge. There's a lot of conversation in the carers world of self-care, taking time for yourself, and we don't have that, and we don't have the ability of that until now. So now we give her a different type of medication. We give her something that helps her just soothe after sleep but isn't intended to keep her asleep. We then play a board game on a night, and then we take Delilah to bed, and then what happens when you go to bed? What do you tell Alexa to do?
It's bedtime.
And what does Alexa do then?
You turn that thing off.
And what does she do with your blinds?
Get them down.
So Alexa will close her blinds. She will turn
Turn the light on.
Yep, turn the lamps on and our fairy lights on. These are the lights that we leave on all night because Delilah's bedroom is downstairs. So this way, if she ever gets startled or scared through the night, she can see where she is and you know, come back round a little bit. And then Delilah will tell Alexa to turn her TV on, which she does very easily. And then she will tell her to turn on Disney Plus, where she can select Sophia first because it was the last thing she watched and the only thing she watches. So she sits in her bed by herself watching TV for half an hour, which is brilliant because that's half an hour that, you know, I can sit and have a cuppa and me and Dan can catch up. And then I will go back in and Delilah will tell Alexa to turn her TV off again. Mum will sit on the floor for about 20 minutes for now. We're hoping it is reducing every night, so I am hopeful that within a week or so we're going to be...
Cold.
My hands are cold. It's going to be even less, if not none at all. And then on a morning when Delilah wakes up, there was this worry that, you know, she wakes up on her own downstairs. Mum can't like, as much as I physically try, I cannot run them stairs fast enough. So she does get a little bit upset that Mum's not there. Where now she wakes up to her favourite song, which is All American Rejects, Move Along. The blind will open and a light will turn on and we can get her dressed for the day, and she's just in a general better mood because she's listening to her music and she's being woke up much better than us trying to drag her out of bed. To be fair, it sets her up in a much better mood. Yeah, it just sets her in a much better mood for the day, and it's impacting other bits and bobs. She is trying to self-propel around the house more. She's trying to take herself to the taxi, and these are just things that's happening in the last week, where before she's always been very independent and very strong-willed, but she's never wanted to try and do these little things that make a big difference so much. So it's going really, really well, isn't it?
The technology allows us to have bespoke methods of delivering a better or simpler or more complex, depending on the situation, level of care.
A case where we worked with a 12-year-old child who physically was able to mobilise, transfer around the home, but was at a falls risk. We had a referral through from physiotherapy due to risks of him falling on the stairs. The assessment identified that actually physically he could mobilise on the stairs quite safely. The area that was problematic was he needed parental supervision to turn on the lights, and when he attempted to go towards the stairs, usually he would wait for parents or seek their support, but on one occasion he was a little impatient, used the stairs without their knowledge. It was dark and he fell and badly hurt himself. So we identified that actually if we could make sure the lights came on as he approached the stairs, he was really safe in using them himself. So we got the motion sensors put in, light sensors. So now, whether he approaches the stairs from the bottom or the top, those lights come on and he's safe and independent, and it's given a 12-year-old a bit more freedom around the home.
Changed our lives massively, hasn't it?
It's give him the independence he needs to
Definitely.
go to bed on his own. He can't do a lot.
No.
So for him to do that's a big achievement.
Just the lights coming on automatically and the notification when he's opened the door. Fantastic.
Get to him quicker rather than him having falls down the stairs and stuff.
Yeah.
Even just getting to the bathroom and stuff.
Easier, a lot easier when he opens the bathroom door, light comes on.
It's just all automatic, it's just straight through from now rather than stumbling for lights and having
for light
falls.
switches, and that's great.
It's been a really helpful service, hasn't it?
Definitely, fantastic.
Needs to be out there a lot more.
Dalton is 27, he lives with his mum, and Dalton has a very mild learning disability. The key here is Dalton's physical disability. So Dalton's got a disability that means that he can't use his arms or his legs. So Dalton, during the day, tends to either sit in his wheelchair or sit at the dining table. His life really is on his computer. So I came across Dalton because his computer had broken and he wasn't able to connect with anybody. Because Dalton was shielding, and his computer is his lifeline through social media platforms. So I referred him to the assistive technology team, who were able to look at the loan of an iPad, and as part of that loan provision, it was also to look at not only connecting with his friends and his family, but also about giving him some control and improving his well-being.
Dalton's quite an engaging character. He has an excellent sense of humour, and I think possibly the most important thing to Dalton is being able to communicate with his little circle of friends. We gave him an iPad and a modified stylus that he still can use his mouth with to tap various things, but also completely set up the iPad to work with as much voice control and command as possible.
Hey Siri, what's the weather forecast for today?
Weather for where?
Hortonley Spring.
It's currently cloudy and 9 degrees in Hortonley Spring, England.
He will spend less time with the stylus in his mouth, but we've also ordered, and these are on a little bit of wait time at the moment, a specialised mouth stylus that'll be much more comfortable for him as well. So he sat with them, and he's happily joining in on social media and chatting to his friends on Facebook, and very proudly showing me who his friends were and what they got up to, and his Instagram page, and it lit up when he could do it again, you know. So
just to see him happy like that, and I think, you know, he was a little bit apprehensive about new technology, and he's kind of embraced that, and what we're hoping is that it'll open the door so we can start to talk to him about other ways that he can use voice control to control his environment, such as the light switches, such as whatever, you know, it's limitless, isn't it? So massive difference to somebody's emotional well-being and physical well-being. So it's been great to work with Dalton.
The goal of the technology is to help the residents, customers, businesses of Sunderland to go about their important and meaningful activities as they want to, hopefully as independently and as safely as possible.
It supports the customers in many ways. When we initially assess a customer for technology, for assistive technology, it's absolutely vital that we listen to the people that we're installing for, or family members, because in order for us to be really creative and to find a good solution for that person or that family, usually we'll get our creativity from the families themselves. They're in a perfect position to know what is needed, what's required, and then we can install that. We do believe that the things we do here in Sunderland can provide the maximum benefit for our community.
So the Farm Protocol project was rolled out probably in about 2016. We were involved in that initial pilot scheme along with some care homes across the city. The project really did take on board for things that we needed for the residents that we looked after, the people that we cared for, and we'll continue to take that forward and embrace that throughout our time in Farm Court. I think it literally was just a rollout in the pilot at the beginning, wasn't it, Adam?
Yeah, and it only took into consideration the national early warning score, and we knew that wasn't great. We need to put more to it, so that's what we've done at a later time. It's massively helped the residents, and it's definitely supporting towards the staff. With the residents, it's given our community teams a better way of triaging, and it's a quicker response for the residents. So if the care homes have been able to do what we request, i.e. the national early warning score, is my resident unwell, or potentially a photo, it means we can triage much more appropriately back at base and get that quicker response for the resident.
It's helped the residents in Farnborough Court because we're only social care staff. So for to get that, the news over to the medical team, we feel that we get the right support at the right time from the right person. And also during the times of COVID, it's minimising that contact as well. We'll get a lot of advice over the phone from Recovery at Home and from the other parts of the medical team. And the staff do find it really supporting knowing that they can take the news forward, speak to somebody at the end of the phone with their findings and get the correct support. So I feel the Farnborough Court project helps staff and the staff feel quite empowered by it, where prior to the news care home tablet, it was very much going on your gut instinct, going on what you felt. With the care home tablet, being able to take the news, being able to complete the "Is my resident unwell?" the staff feel quite empowered by that. They've got this wealth of knowledge on the customer that then they can hand over to the clinical team. And again, that's sometimes just triaged over the phone, so there's not the need for a visit. Sometimes it's just reassurance for staff, but they've got that person there at the end of the phone, they've got the news score, they've got the tools and they've got the knowledge to be able to hand over appropriately.
The digital technology is definitely innovational. It's given a window into care homes for our clinical staff, and we've found that a lot of homes are still paper-based. Therefore, we've given a digital solution that we can see remotely. Before, we didn't have that access, and we would certainly have to go to the home. Now we can triage appropriately and determine whether that visit's appropriate or not.
Again, we were very privileged to be part of that initial rollout, and in 2018 we won an award for sustaining innovation. So I feel that again was very a powerful message to the staff to say that we're doing the right thing. We're doing the right thing for the customers, the residents that we provide the care for in the city.
Well, the Rita project is Reminiscence Interactive Therapy Assistant. So it is a device which we use within Farnborough Court to prevent social isolation and loneliness. As you were during the COVID-19 pandemic, people weren't allowed visitors in hospital. They're not allowed visitors within Farnborough Court. They have to be isolated for 14 days. So that's in a room by themselves with very little staff interaction, basically for basic needs. With the Rita project, it's basically an interactive device, and on there are jigsaws which can be personalised, word searches, different types of series, there's films, there's different music genres and everything on there. So that prevents some of the isolation.
It's only been in the service for about 2 weeks. And how it came about is that the service actually is an assessment and a re-ablement unit. So it's felt that the project would be ideal for the customers that come into our place. The Rita project, as we know, is a system that is touch-based and can be easily used for all our customers, because we have customers of varying abilities. And it was felt that as part of their assessment, we could actually engage with them, with the people that have non-verbal and verbal communication. Also, what we've done as well, we've actually put the care plans uploaded onto the Rita, which enables the staff team to actually carry out the function and do immediate assessments with the customer in their own environment. So they're comfortable, and the staff can actually give up-to-date information at all times. What we've found is that it's also enabled the staff team to enhance their learning as well. So we have a generation of people that obviously went to school where there was no computers, and it's brought them along because they've actually learnt whilst at work how to use Rita, and actually it's thoroughly engaging for basically it's a memory box for a lot of people.
Rita comes as two parts. It's an iPad. And it also there's a bigger screen which comes on a trolley, which you can wheel about. It's mobile. For infection control, it's all totally washable. You wheel it in, you press one button. No Wi-Fi's needed. It's all pre-loaded. So there's no dead spots anywhere in the service. And within 2 seconds, it's there. And I guess I can give you an example of a customer that we had overnight who had a dementia. was really unsettled moving from hospital into another service which wasn't at home. And on that you can actually play calming music and have calming pictures, so it might be bubbles or pictures of cats, and it actually supported her to remain calm and get into the pattern of sleeping overnight.
Assistive technology is got to be the way forward, because it actually empowers our customers, because everyone's got a mobile phone, everyone's got an iPad, and they feel ownership of it because it can be wheeled around into each of the rooms. So yes, it's just technology, and it helps us with their assessments as well.
I would describe this as very much supporting our customers. It's really valuable, it prevents social isolation, it improves dexterity for customers, it supports those who have a dementia and those who do not have a dementia. It's part of their mental health and well-being. It promotes really their physical abilities when you're talking about exercises, and it gives people a drive to want to go home and improve.
What I see for Villette Lodge is that we can actually bring on board more of our partners, so the social care side that we work with the social workers, they can come and see it actually working, so they can include it in their assessments or ask more that we want from Rita. I think actually if we had a couple more on site as well, that would allow the engagement for other people to at the consistency for the same time, but also if we could actually then roll it out to our other services across Sunderland Care and Support, and so they could see the advantage that we're having the experience at the moment, because obviously we're piloting the system, but I think it would be effective and beneficial to all our customers and to our staff team. I would say because it's the visual, it can be touched, it's not, people don't have to be frightened, it's not going to be broken, it's instant, and the multi-choice of screens that you can actually use, so you can switch between music to actually playing games, and it's just that communication tool that it's very effective.
The virtual visiting project has started with this idea. We've got a telehealth room at the university that wasn't getting used, and we wanted to create a space for students to develop some of their skills that they're learning on the programme before they actually go out on placement. So we contacted Sunderland Council to ask them for a meeting around some potential ideas, and one of the ideas that we came up with was virtual visiting. So once a week our students make contact virtually with the occupational therapy staff down at Farnborough Court, and they do a virtual visit, a very much a social visit that allows our students to develop relationships, talk to people that maybe not having any visitors, that are isolated because of COVID, or may not have any family.
So we're just working with the council, we're doing virtual visiting. Obviously in the current situation we're in during COVID, people haven't been able to have visitors. So having virtual visiting, it's given people having the opportunity to have some company and communicate with somebody, and to talk about their life experience. During the beginning of doing this process, we just started talking to them about what their likes and dislikes were, but we found conversation can run quite dry because obviously COVID and people aren't doing anything anymore. So we then went on to using some therapeutic modes and going through a process. So we spoke about what their occupations were, what they enjoyed doing, how their life is normally at home, and what they're looking forward to doing when they finally get home again.
Well, the customers, the first sort of few visits were a little bit stilted. Our conversation didn't flow so well, but we've built on that and we've developed it over the last few weeks. And as we were talking to a lady last week who was very apprehensive about using the technology. She didn't have a smartphone, but engaged really well with Courtney. Had a lovely conversation with her, and when I was chatting with her after the virtual visit, she just said it was lovely. She really felt like she connected with somebody. Somebody was able to sit and have a long conversation with her that she hasn't had before. So they are really benefiting from the opportunity to, one, try the technology, and also just having a conversation and having a bit of, it's not about what would you like for your dinner, what do you need right now, just a general conversation with somebody outside of Farnborough Court, and a phone call from their family is pretty much all they've been having. So I think it's really benefiting them and getting them to think about what they could possibly do differently when they go home.
They know they're talking to people from university, and they realise that they're giving us an opportunity as well. So they feel like that's meaningful as well. Obviously it's good for us because we're able to practice our skills and develop on them, but they're able to communicate and realise that they're doing us some good as well.
To review those customers and their therapy plans, we physically have to leave the building, go to the house, arrange a time when the worker from our reablement team will be there, and that's a lot of travel time. It's not cost effective and time efficient. So I'm hoping we can use more of this technology just in our normal business to virtually review and catch up with customers when they've been discharged from us from the building, to keep in touch with them at home. I definitely want to see more kind of remote working where we can do that even from our home base. So that's how I see it evolving.
This project with Farnborough Court and the council is just the start of our journey as using students to develop relationships and working on their skills. I would like to see it continue past COVID. Farnborough Court will have customers that don't have family and friends visiting, so it's an opportunity there. But I see this as part of a bigger project to develop more projects using technology.
I don't think the tech's that innovative, but I think when we're working with people in their 80s to 100s, having an iPad at home and doing FaceTime calling is innovative to them. So it's helping with that culture shift of moving and using technology in everyday life, helping families link in with their relatives a little bit more easily. So what your mum tells you down the phone, that's just feeling, is going to be very different to what she'll see on a camera if we can get people using video calling as well. But certainly linking in with the university like this is quite innovative and using that tech in a different way.
Introducing the Social Health Enabling Independent Living app, Sheila. Developed through the unique partnership between Sunderland City Council and Wazan Digital Health, Sheila is a brand new way to monitor the safety, health and activity of vulnerable residents in their own homes. Designed by carers and care professionals for carers and care professionals, it provides evidential data to help plan the residents' future care provision and offers easy-to-understand updates for much-needed peace of mind. Sheila consolidates a variety of individual systems into one. It monitors standard day-to-day activity, such as putting the kettle on, opening the fridge or cupboards, providing reassurances the resident is eating and drinking, as well as simply ensuring they're moving around the house as expected. On top of this, the system can detect any unusual activity, like front doors opening at night, and immediately trigger responses, such as mobile notifications, and instigate voice messages from smart speakers. Mum, it's late. Come back inside. Sheila can also monitor medication and offer location tracking. Sheila was developed to provide the most complete overview of a resident's developing situation, sharing real-time data with those who need it. Members of a resident's care circle can manage care monitoring between them by staying informed on a resident's condition through the monitoring summary, setting notifications to allay concerns, respond to active alerts, logging into the app to let others know they're with the resident, and indicating to others when they are or aren't able to respond to a notification. Care professionals receive comprehensive reporting, including an overview of where a resident is spending their time and how their activity is changing. This helps them to build a complete picture of someone's condition and design and deliver personalised care. Following successful testing, Sheila is being rolled out throughout Sunderland and will be in 1,500 homes across the city by 2024. Sheila is revolutionising the way in which care and support is delivered. This not only benefits the residents' short and long-term health and safety, but helps maintain them living in their own home and part of the community for longer.
Sheila, the Social Health Enabling Independent Living app, was designed
with that intention, so it does what it says on the tin. So hopefully it's designed to allow people to stay in their own homes for longer with care needs and help carers to manage those care needs.
Sheila is an app that has been in development, and it will help our customers because it can provide data which will help us to influence, care planning and support that our customers might need. The data is obtained through applying a range of devices in the customer's home. So we can provide, for example, motion sensors, door property exit sensors, sensors on someone's medication, for example, sensors that would sense somebody getting off on and off a chair, in and out of bed, opening the fridge, potentially how often they're boiling the kettle.
And that information sort of sends information back to the Sheila through the Sheila app to a server, and that's all made sense of and put together, and it goes back to the person's phone. It starts to show patterns of behaviour, so you can see if your loved one, perhaps was getting up every morning at 7 o'clock, you might want to set a notification if they don't get up. So it's not always wanting to be about, I want to know every single move somebody's making. It's not about that. It's about having that peace of mind and be able to set notifications based on when you want to know them and based on the person.
I think it allows us to have evidence to inform our care planning and make it as less restrictive for the person as possible, and have some real live data to enable us to say, well, actually, look, they're going to the toilet this many times a day, so we need a carer to come in at 12 o'clock because that's what time they're going, where at the moment we're just thinking, we think they go around about that time, where Sheila would allow us to actually say every day they go to the toilet at 12, so that's when they need help from a carer. So it would allow us to interpret that and make real decisions that are backed up with evidence.
Where we see Sheila going, I suppose, though, is also working with health partners. What we see is, could we use this in some way to, get some of the stuff that they do in hospital, could we do it as outpatients? So, could we use Sheila in some way to help get people out of hospital quicker, so they were under some sort of supervision and the family were felt comfortable for them to come home. But two, also, could we use it in a way like maybe, you see these things now, monitoring glucose, monitoring heart conditions. Could we do some simple stuff in terms of metrics, even prevention? So as this system gets quicker and smarter, we're putting artificial intelligence in, so you can imagine that we can start to look for patterns of behaviour. So if someone's climbing the stairs a little bit slow, that might indicate something. I was speaking to a brilliant physician, and he was saying his specialism was actually on people's movement, and he was saying if I can tell from people's movement whether they're going to have issues in the future. So if we can start to build in something like that, it becomes that it actually could become just not as a monitoring tool but also as a preemptive tool to spot things early, and I'm hoping that it can be used across the full system, health and social care. So that's where I see it going. What we've learned about when we've been doing Sheila in the software and the hardware is all of this needs to connect somehow, and at the moment people are relying on some sort of home broadband. Sometimes that home broadband isn't great speed. We've got still copper wires in the ground. So what we're trying to do in Sunderland, the Smart Cities challenge, is we are putting in super fast broadband across the whole city. There's a plan now. We've been given £62 million worth of funding to do that and work in partnership with that. We're also going to put what's called a low frequency wireless network in. So actually at the moment people have to have some sort of connectivity, broadband or mobile broadband to have Sheila. But in the near future, you could have like the base models, so your sensors on your fridge, your sensors on your stairs, all connected just by 5 or 6 aerials covering the whole city, stick and fix. So just as I said, coming out of hospital, you could really stick something in there very, very quickly, get that coming to a mobile phone and have peace of mind. So that's how the smart city stuff is really connecting us. And again, we're probably looking at 5G as well. So thinking into the future, Sheila can do stuff today, but what will it be able to do tomorrow? So, you know, consultations when you flick on your screen. So it's all that sort of stuff that we're trying to build towards in this. Sheila's part of it, but that connectivity and smart city stuff really has to happen to get the most out of this technology.
I think in terms of the tech, I don't think it's innovative. I think the innovation is going to come from the way we use the tech, so the way it's developed, and particularly around the use of AI and machine learning, that will help develop a better package of care for the people who are using it, and provide intelligence to health and social care about how it's being used. Tech has already proven its value in the current environment, and I think it will continue to do so. So it'll help health and social care divert resources to where they need to be. I also think it'll help provide a tailored package for customers, so providing tech along with a person-centred approach. Sunderland's leading the way in terms of innovation in developing AI and machine learning in the use of social care and health. That'll lead to a growth in people being able to go out in the community, and people will be able to do things that they wouldn't normally be able to. So supporting local economy through going to shops and people going out to work, so supporting families where they may have been the main carer for someone. They'll be able to go out to work knowing that the technology is there to support an individual at home.
So we've been working on a number of projects, I think, that would align with, you know, the technology-enabled care initiative, and what we're really interested in achieving from those projects is not only independence, I think, for our customers and that connectivity for our customers, but what we're also really interested in is how, by supporting people in that way, we enable individuals, families, you know, to continue living their lives in the way that they want to, fulfilling all of their daily roles, being able to be a parent, being able to, you know, undertake the job that they would ordinarily do, because we have enabled them to do that by this way of working. The future looks really exciting, and I think what we know is that this is just the start of this journey. We're just starting to explore the capabilities of the technology. We're still in a place where we're trying to promote the concept for people, so that it starts to become something that, you know, we expect to be able to take advantage of. I think we've shown how all of those organisations can come together on this journey to take us wherever we need to go, and the opportunities for us in the future are just really exciting.
So thank you for joining us. I do hope that you enjoyed our video, and during the course of that we've had some really interesting questions posed. Catherine from Hampshire has asked us a question about the barriers sometimes to actually adopting technology-enabled care, and I think that certainly has been really a significant issue for us, both internally within our own organisations and also externally with some of the stakeholders that we've worked with. And I wonder if perhaps I can come to you, Adam, as a place to start. Adam has been the clinical lead, as you can see from the film, around the care home tablet project, and it was one of the first really innovative projects that I think we delivered. And what I was always really struck by in the video is the passion from within Farnborough Court around actually using the technology. But I do wonder if it felt like that from the outset, or if actually there were some challenges around supporting people to accept the benefit of the technology, Adam?
Yes, absolutely. I think change is really difficult in most organisations, and I think with this technology I wasn't there from the very beginning. So when we did a small evaluation before my time, and then I was brought in as a recommendation, and we were solely looking at care homes at the time, and care homes, you know, are a little bit behind us with technology, so I knew it was going to be a struggle. And I think for me there'd already been some training, so I had to then go back out and ask them to do it slightly different. So I knew that was going to be difficult. But I think once you start speaking to managers, staff, you know, our supporting organisations, and actually show them the benefits, that then started to change the way people felt, and we started getting a lot of buy-in. And of course now I've got
certain homes that would say, please don't ever take this technology away from us because it's changed the way they've worked, which is fantastic to hear. And it just gives us that remote access. So, you know, I had some challenges. The pandemic really pushed the technology, which was absolutely fantastic. I think that was, as bad as it was, it really helped with the digital side of things. And that pushed the external organisations, GPs, district nurses, other types of departments that really wanted it to reduce that footfall, and it worked absolutely brilliant during that period.
Yeah, and I suppose one of the things I wonder about as well is whether there was any distrust at the outset, because people are obviously very wedded to the idea, or historically they have been, about actually having face-to-face contact with a clinician, and whether there was anxiety around actually using that technology to deliver a similar function. Did we have any problems with that?
Yeah, I assume so, because Sunderland has such a good wraparound service from our supporting organisations. I think then now saying we want to kind of distance ourselves and look more remotely to you, you know, that can cause a lot of issues. And, you know, it was just reassuring the staff we're still there supporting, but we're getting that information from afar. We could maybe reduce actually coming to see us. But, you know, absolutely, we're not saying we're not coming. You know, if we need to come, we're going to come. And we, you know, we did feel that a little bit at the beginning.
And I think what's interesting in you know, when you listen to Lynn, one of the care team in Farnborough Court, speak, she talks about actually how empowered the team have ended up feeling as a result of that, because they are now trusted to deliver, you know, that activity and to work with yourselves on it. And you know, certainly what comes across, I think, from the team is their pride in being able to actually work with yourselves in that way, in a really efficient way. And certainly through the pandemic, it's definitely proved its worth, hasn't it, in terms of needing to provide urgent care at times, but not being able to be face to face with people. And whilst we certainly hadn't seen that coming, it was very helpful. And I do wonder, did you feel as though that promoted, you know, the project with some care homes who maybe were a bit anxious about it beforehand?
Yes, I think once they were reassured, and once we took the train to the care homes, there was no expectation for them to come to us. And we worked with the care homes rather than expecting them to work with us. It worked so much more better. And, you know, as a city, I could see the difference in the staff going from locality to locality. We were seeing the improvements with knowledge and skills and the abilities to look after those really vulnerable, poorly patients. And that was reflected in conversations from specialist nurses that support them, the older person team. The same week we're going in, we can now see such a difference. They're using these tools that actually come into us with better handovers, more information than they ever have before, which is great, because then we can triage so much more efficiently. We can prioritise the patients better. So the patient at the heart of that was getting mostly you know, quicker response from those support organisations, because we could prioritise them much better.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Adam. In terms of barriers, I'm going to come to Lindsay now. Lindsay is one of our senior practitioner occupational therapists. And Lindsay, I do wonder a bit about the culture across health and social care colleagues, and how that's felt when we've been looking at things like, you know, the technology-enabled care from a high street tech perspective. How has it felt from a cultural perspective within, certainly, you know, OTs in the city? Has there been a lot of resistance?
I think I'd probably say pre-COVID, there was probably a little bit of resistance. It's something new, you know. What do we do? What can it do? What can't it do? Is it intrusive? Is it not intrusive? And you know, the technology to enable care and support and promote independence, well-being, give our customers confidence, empower them to do things. A lot of our customers actually have those bits of kit, those tech.
Yeah.
And I think since with the COVID pandemic, it's kind of accelerated the move and the shift in social care as well. So I think you know, we've got customers out there that have got the Alexas or that have got sensors here, there and everywhere, or are sat back purchasing things but don't realise the potential of it.
Potential,
yeah, and that's the same with the therapists.
Yeah.
You know, we have them in our own homes, but we necessarily haven't realised the capability of what they can do for us as well.
And I suppose, thinking about that historically, as prescribers of equipment, which, you know, I'm an OT as well, and that's what we do, that piece of equipment has always come to you with a bit of a label, hasn't it, with a badge around this is what it does. So a bath lifter will support you from the bath, or, you know, a hoist will support your manual handling. But when you're looking at some of that assistive technology, actually, it's so multifunctional. So it gives you the opportunity to be much more creative with it. And I think we certainly saw that in Delilah's story. Yeah.
To think that you've got a piece of kit, and a little Lego dot, and it just takes that little bit of support to help a family, but how that one piece of a kit of equipment has improved that whole family's life. And to be able to share that on platforms like this, having conferences like this allows us to go, look what you can do, and share those experiences, because sometimes the best way to learn is to see what it can do for somebody.
Yeah. And I wonder, you know, from a customer perspective, because obviously in our film we've showcased some families that we know are hugely committed. I wonder kind of what the experience is like as you move across the age groups, because I think we've shown some younger families there, but I do know we've had some quite significant success with older people. And I wonder culturally, you know, how's that felt?
I think that's probably been one of the harder challenges, is been the difficulties with engaging in technology with the older generation, and the main thing being broadband.
Yeah.
You know, we have a lot of customers that don't have broadband, but you know, that's not to say that they can't have anything. We're still there to support them to have that broadband, or to get those SIM cards with the data on. And actually what we found is when we have been able to implement some of the technology within there, they've not only used it for safety, independence, reducing care strain, but they've actually used it to interact socially with family.
Yeah.
So they've then found during the pandemic that actually something that we gave them earlier on, we've been able to support them to connect.
Yeah.
Socially.
Yeah. And I mean, certainly for, you know, my experience of this work that we've done so far is the unexpected benefits that I think have come, you know, when potentially you've looked at facilitating a need that can sometimes be very practical, but actually the outcome is multifold, and could be about connecting people, reducing isolation, doing all of those things that actually there could have been an initial fear that if you automate something, you're not going to see humans anymore. But actually across the pandemic, I think we demonstrated that it really did connect people in a way that they needed to be connected. I'm just wondering as well a bit about, and I'm going to come to Dave in a second to talk a bit more about Sheila, but I'm just wondering as well about the notion of kind of that monitoring of someone, and monitoring someone's behaviours, or, you know, how they're spending their time. Have we come across any concerns or anxieties around the mere notion of monitoring somebody in that way?
Absolutely. I know that myself, I've put in some sensors for a customer who was physically functioning really, really well around the home, had dementia, was very vulnerable, you know, would quite easily open the front door, come across to that person as quite complex mentis, but actually underneath that was really vulnerable and wasn't really understanding. The son was a carer, but also worked, and what we were able to do was allow our son to be able to kind of support her, keep her safe, but at more of an arm's length, to allow him to be a son and have his job. So the challenges that we had there were around what technology will support her to be as safe as possible, but without being too intrusive. So we were able to set up motion sensors.
Yeah.
We've actually tested the use of cameras in this situation. So this lady obviously didn't have capacity, so we've undertook a capacity assessment, and we've deemed that in her best interest, we've then put a camera in for outdoors. So she has fallen outdoors and fallen in the garden, and it's not intrusive, it's not breaching data protection, and it's within her best interest to be able to go out and put her in her garden.
Yeah.
But that our son can keep an eye on her from a distance to know his mum's okay.
Yeah. And I think sometimes Yeah, we've found that actually some of those concerns around capacity and around obviously you know the necessity to support somebody appropriately in that way can be used as a barrier. But actually, if you explore some of that correctly, if you do, I think we call it our correct due diligence around some of that, it doesn't need to be a barrier, does it? It can be an enabler. Yeah. Dave, I'm going to come to you. So Dave is many things, but has been leading the project around Sheila. So in terms of barriers, Dave, and you know, some of the challenges around internal and external stakeholders when you've been developing the Sheila project, I just wonder what your experience there has been.
I think some of the biggest barriers Lynn's has hit on a bit as well. So it's safety, security, and making sure that all of this equipment is secure, you know, data has been transferred in the right way. But as I guess I said on the presentation, it's that connectivity. So Lynn's has hit on it straight away. We don't want, I guess a lot of this, you know, that's been showcased today depends upon connectivity. And I guess, we don't want to exclude anybody from being able to have this technology and to be able to benefit from it. So I think some of the things that, you know, we realize that broadband can be an issue. We realize that even if you use like, you know, SIM cards and narrowband technology, there's always some sort of black area where you can't get the, you know, the signal through. So overcoming those challenges, I think we're part way there. I wouldn't say we've got all of the answers, but hopefully with part of that smart city, and I think if we continue to work in the way we do, so we're constantly challenging ourselves. So I know in the Sheila project, it you know, it relies on a hub to work, and we've been very fair to say actually we've put it through some rigorous testing. Does it have a battery backup? Does it have a SIM card backup? Does it work if the power goes off? Is it resilient? Does it go through third parties or does it come direct? So it's all of that sort of stuff. So we can, you know, I suppose people are always worried it's their own personal data. So I think they're the things that we need to do to make sure that it's, you know, really, really good. And they're the barriers that we need to overcome.
But I think, you know, obviously I've worked with you on that project, and I think it's the planning work and all of that work that you've done at the outset to explore all of that that then helps to make it accessible when you are starting to introduce it to people, isn't it? So I suppose a barrier would be if you didn't do all of that planning and you hadn't thought all of those things through, you know, in advance. But I think all of the work that I've watched you doing over the last few months to get us there has been really central to that. Rachel has asked us a question about funding and how we've funded some of the projects that we've operated within. So Dave, I wonder if you can tell us a bit about the funding arrangements for Sheila.
Yeah, so we had this idea, as you know, and it was the guys in your team that were saying, you know, we'd love to do some of this, but we're not sure how. We visited things like the iTech conference previously and seen some. It's like a sweet shop where we've seen all this stuff that we couldn't really afford, and so what we ended up doing was actually putting in for a grant from the local government, ran it as part NHSX, and it was a social care digital innovation programme. We got some funding from there. It wasn't a lot of money. It was £100,000. Our CCG also chipped in, which because they could see the benefits, and the council itself used some of its capital money and loaned itself some funding to be able to bring this about. So we've been quite frugal in the way we spent it. So but I think you know, hopefully we're getting probably something that's, you know, a reasonable product for a very relatively cheap price once we've done it. So we've been very careful with the purse strings.
Yeah, but I think it's been about creativity and innovation, hasn't it, really, in terms of funding. And one of the things that struck me about the Sheila project is that we have continuously looked for funding along the way to make sure that we could continue to do what we needed to do, and we haven't let that be a barrier. And I think that's been really innovative as well. So just to kind of finish us off, because I know we've only got a couple of minutes left, I'm going to come to Chris, and Chris is our Assistive Technology Development Manager here in Sunderland Care and Support. So really, Chris, just to bring us to a close, I wonder if you can tell us a bit about what you think the future looks like for technology-enabled care and where you see it being in the next sort of 5 years or so.
Yep, definitely. I don't think there's going to be any groundbreaking androids running around picking people up, but I do think there's going to be some subtle changes, mainly in the background of the technology, so the uses of AI and machine learning.
Yeah.
particularly around the predictions around what people's trends are going to be and how people are going to live and access care. So I think it'll be particularly useful in planning people's care for the future. So it will say that Mrs. Jones is going to need this much care and this package of care in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you so much. I'm going to say a big thank you to all of my colleagues who've joined us today. I do really hope that everyone has enjoyed the showcase that we did. If there are any further questions, because I realise we only had a short period of time, but if anybody's got any additional questions, please do feel free to let us know. We're always really keen to talk to colleagues in other areas, because it's by talking and sharing learning, I think, that we're all going to learn together. So please do make contact. We may also, having attended the conference, be in touch with a number of other colleagues and organisations ourselves so that we can continue this journey together. And really just a very big thank you to everyone, including our teams and our customers who've helped us bring this together today.